So today I'm here with a very interesting guest for our today's show. I am here with no less than Markellos Diorinos, who is the CEO of Bryq. And I had a quick chat with Markellos. Actually, the name actually comes from a very interesting direction because as you're building your company, you're building people building those companies, and you build it brick by brick. So basically, what Bryq is standing for that you hire talent and not resumes. So it's essentially, right, helping companies to, have their HR work and processes and technology in order. But, actually, I don't want to go too deep into the product because I think Markellos is going to be, much better in explaining what the team is up to. He's the co-founder and the CEO of Bryq. And, I'm pleased to welcome you to the show. Hi, Markellos, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be on your show, Lucas. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Very good. So maybe give us a brief overview in your own words about Bryq. What is it all about?
You did such a great job. I think there's nothing left to say, but I'll give it a shot nonetheless. We did start Bryq when in previous roles, both me and my co-founders, we figured out that hiring was probably the hardest part of our work as hiring managers. We were not recruiters. And at the same time, it was the most essential in our success. So whenever I've worked in a company that I felt it was great and I was having fun, it was not because of the technology, it was not because of the money we made, it was because of the team. So we said, they're obviously winning teams. And unfortunately, I've been part of losing teams as well.
Mhm.
And losing teams did not mean that they did not make money, right? But you can make money and hate it. So how do we put winning teams together? How do we help recruiters and hiring managers find the right fit? The resume is not enough. Is there a way for us to supplement the intuition with data that goes beyond the resume? And then, even as you select people and you start doing the interviews, what are the right questions to ask? I've unfortunately hired people and then realized how wrong I was.
Mhm.
Was there a way for me to prevent it? Because my usual process did not catch it. There were people whose personality was completely the wrong match for the team. And as you do all of this, one of my most interesting experiences was hiring worldwide. I had a team which had people in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa. Once you start interviewing Vietnamese, for example, lovely folk and very, very hardworking, you realize that everything that you've come to rely on falls apart. Nothing worked. Same thing once you start interviewing people from Nigeria or Brazil. There must be a way to do better. And how do I avoid my biases? How can I hire people for who they are and not for the fact that I like them? And I do instinctively like some people. I look Lucas, and Lucas, is kind of similar to me, probably a slimmer version of me. So we both speak German, lots of commonalities. I already feel a sort of kinship to you. This is not going to help me in how you're going to perform in a role if you were to be hired. So these questions, they're agonizing. The success of the company relies on this, and there were no good answers.
Makes a lot of sense. And who is taking benefit of those, insights and findings that you brought up right now? What would be the typical companies that are, leveraging Bryq at the moment?
Everybody wants to have a universal answer, a software that everybody can use. And we come pretty close to that. We have customers who are startups. And for startups, every person you add, it's so important to the overall outcome. When you're a 5-person startup, 20% of the company comes in the next hire. So you better need to make sure that this is great. But we also have people who do tens or hundreds of hires per month, companies that have several thousand employees. Why? Because they suffer from churn, they have an incredible amount of work, and they need ways to make this better. In general, Everybody who hires can benefit from us. We're not the solution for everything, though. We are a stage and a part of the solution. So if you care about how do I find people who fit the personality, how do I find people who fit the role, and more importantly, how do I find people who fit my company, all the while putting aside my personal or other people's biases, this is a solution you can benefit from. And I know sometimes it sounds presumptuous, but you just described everybody. Yes, I think that everybody would benefit from our solution. And you know what? If not from our solution, they should find a solution that's equivalent. Sometimes I always prefer if a customer says, I hate this, but I found something better. I don't think there is something better, but hey, for the sake of argument, rather than do nothing. Everybody should be using something. There is so much money, so much effort, so much time, so many careers lost from mishiring that we should curb it to the effect possible.
Very interesting. I'm wondering though that that level of consciousness, right, about their own biases, HRlers need in a way in order to sort of start and search for a solution like this and find you guys. Like, what would be a typical journey, right, of somebody not knowing about Bryq and then getting started? In other words, what would be the client acquisition channels?
Here's a challenge that everybody who has a novel solution has, and it's not just us. It's inertia. Companies are not going down. The world has not gone up in flames. Well, okay, came close to it, but that was unrelated with the recent pandemic. The point being that how do we convince people that there is a better way, they're losing money, and they need to change their ways? And we've had a hard time doing this. A lot of our customers have been early adopters,
Mm-hmm.
people who were suffering, startups who needed to grow. For them, it was a matter of survival. Companies that were getting so many resumes, thousands a day,
Mm-hmm.
that they said, look, if I don't get a technology solution, I'm always going to be losing in this game. I'm always going to be substandard in hiring. And these are the early adopters. But the way we like to think about it is that technology is not your foe. And many times we'll present our solution and then someone says, is this going to do my job? No, it cannot. We wish we'd have a solution that would replace recruiters. That would be a completely different market. But we have no way to replace the human element in this. What we can do, and the way we like to look at it, is technology is serving purposes. It's serving people. It's taking away the work that they cannot do as efficiently. It's supplementing their insight. It's giving them back time so that they, in turn, can focus on what matters most. So, unfortunately, you're not going to necessarily need fewer recruiters by using Bryq, but you will get much better results because the same recruiters can focus on what matters instead of reading through the 500th resume.
Makes sense. I mean, I touched briefly before on the channels, right? How people are learning about Bryq. What role would you say does the website play, right? From somebody, learning about Bryq to actually getting started. What role do you attribute to the website in itself?
The customer journey is really important. And when I first looked at the first version of our website, I said it was horrible. I'm now looking at probably what's the 6th or 7th version of the website within the past 2 years, and I think that it's still horrible. The point being that it's really hard. The web is a medium that is hard for people to digest information. It can easily overwhelm them. So we start, but how do we attract traffic? Can we build great content? Can we start answering some of the questions that our potential audience has? And this has been working well. The more related content we bring, the more traffic we can bring from people who have this sort of problems in their mind. And then how do I feed them? How do I give them a paradigm shift within a web page? And we're experimenting with different media. We started with one approach, then we're now starting to experiment with more videos. People take input differently. I personally love reading. Why? Because it allows me to skip to the part I want. A lot of people love watching a video because they're more visual people and it gives them a better way to process the incoming information. You can change the paradigm of how people like to have their information served. You'll try to cater for all the different paradigms. And understanding the customer journey is something that is always a struggle.
Makes sense. Where do you see a strength then, in the website, in that customer journey? Is it the ability to convert, when visitors come to the page? Is it the quality of the leads that it provides for Bryq? Is it the experience you can provide? Where do you see a strength of the website at the moment?
I want to be stronger in all parts. And I think that's how everybody should think about their website. Yes, we're converting. Yes, we're educating. Yes, we're attracting. Can we do better? Yes. We should always be able, and we should be able to do better. So yes, we have a strength. We love how we position our product. We do attract people because they find us on organic search, and that's a big part of our traffic.
Mhm.
But there is no endpoint with this, right? You always have to have your key KPIs on site and always be optimizing.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was actually about to ask where you see the biggest room for improvement. Is there a certain sort of metric that you guys are focusing on at the moment, or is it, how do you think about that?
I think that, for example, now our lead conversion is lower
Hmm.
than we'd like. And what this means is that even though we've managed to attract a lot of organic traffic, which is the kind of traffic we like, we fail to convert these people to active leads.
Gotcha.
So understanding the journey, understanding what it is that these people came for and how you'll move them, educate them, and get them interested in your solution, that is a challenge.
Yeah. Is there something that you guys tried already? Because obviously that topic comes up a lot in the conversation, and everybody has a different approach to go about that.
We're always looking at new tools. And one thing that I've found throughout my career is that the right tool can make all the difference. And we'll always considering new things, and we'll always try things. We'll try, for example, tools that help us identify where our visitors come from.
Mm.
So can we go back and discuss them? We start thinking about tools that help us, like PathMonk, help us better understand the customer journey. Do we have a full understanding? Are we losing people in places that we don't really understand? There's no end in this. And every time we add a new version of truth, and by saying adding a new version of truth, I mean implementing something new that gives us a new worldview for us to see,
Mhm.
we learn new things.
Makes a lot of sense. I would love to switch gears completely, right? And learn about you. Because I mean, you've been an integral part of building up Bryq. You mentioned you came from, actually a background in relevant roles to what actually became to be Bryq. I would be just curious, right? At the very moment, how do you keep yourself educated? What is the type of content that you personally consume in order to continuously, grow?
Not enough. I always try to consume more. I do love podcasts.
Hmm.
Podcasts like the very one we're doing now have
Hmm.
been for me an incredible source of information. What have people tried and failed and succeeded? There's no better way of learning. I always try to get in a few books a month,
Hmm.
related books, because, the other day someone said, hey, we should do MEDDIC here. I said, what is MEDDIC? And they actually explained the acronym, and I don't remember what it is. It's a method for qualifying your leads. And I said, okay, MEDDIC, let's get a book. I'll have to read about MEDDIC and understand how that works. You always go, and maybe it's in a podcast, maybe it's in a discussion with a colleague, maybe it's a discussion with a competitor. It can be in any place, but you're trying to say, hey, how can I augment my worldview? And this is something that I always try to encourage for people within the company. Everybody needs to keep educating themselves. I cannot be the most clever guy in the company, and I don't think I am, and I don't expect to ever be. If I were doing that, then I'm not hiring correctly. The point is to get great people who are better than ourselves, and they help us grow.
I can see that definitely. Since we slowly coming to an end of the interview, not quite yet, but slowly, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. It's, a couple of short and crisp question and answers to learn more, about Bryq and yourself. Are you ready for those?
Whew. Yes, let's go.
Very good. What is the last book that you read?
Oh, I'm still halfway through it, and I'm reading a book called Sway from, I'm going to give the author's name completely wrong, but it's one that's handling all the unconscious biases that we have. And it explains the mechanism. My favorite part is the mechanism of us and them, friend or foe. As soon as you see something, immediately your gut tells you that Lucas is a friend or Lucas is not a friend. And that completely changes your attitude towards that person. And there are so many great examples of, unfortunately, behaviors that I myself have and exhibit. We all do. There are no exceptions to that rule. And then you're saying, huh, okay, yeah, I do that. I get that. I understand how this works. And then this gives you so much more insight into how to work around your biases. By the way, it's hard. That's why we love technology. It's almost impossible to contradict your nature. You are programmed to work certain ways. So instead of trying to fight your own essence, use tools that's going to make it easier for you.
Very good. So we have to look up for the names of the author. We're going to put that into the notes.
I'll be happy to share it with you.
Very good. What's the one single thing that Bryq is focused on the most at the moment?
We were setting our OKRs yesterday, and I looked at a couple of proposals and I said, no, these are all wrong. The first thing that we look at Bryq is the team, then the product, then the partners, and then the revenue will come. So we did have to switch our OKRs because if we don't have a great team, we'll never have a chance to succeed. Having a great team, yes, they will build a great product, they will market it, they will bring in the partners, and we'll have the revenue.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing that you would wanted to have fixed for the company today?
Oh man, there are so many things. Boundaries in technology. I still feel that the interface is primitive. Computers. It's so hard. We're doing such a great work and it's all about emulating and simulating. But at the end of the day, this still feels like an artificial experience when you interact with a computer. How can I have a better interface? Then I can get better data. Then I can give better data. Not an easy one to fix.
Very, very interesting one. It seems, like you said, primitive to keep on, typing here in front of my eyes. Very good. Very last question would be, if you would be restarting today, right, the journey with Bryq, what would be the one advice that you would give yourself?
I'd have to give it myself before I start, and it would be to do it sooner. I've started Bryq at the time that felt right, but I already had probably some 20, 30 years of experience working with other companies, working in different countries, and this definitely have contributed to who I am. But at the end of the day, I've never had so much fun as I do now. So I wish I had this much fun when I was in my 30s. And I can see why people go entrepreneurial and love it early. I should have done it.
Markellos, I really, really appreciate that you took the time with us today to be on Pathfunk Presents. I want to give you the very last word, right? If somebody would be forgetting anything that we talked about Bryq today, what's the one thing that they should remember about the company?
I'll have to self-promote here, and everybody should find a solution for their hiring. If not us, something else. They can go on our website, bryq.com, and we have a free trial. They can look it, and if they look at it, use it, hire, and if they hate it, we'd love to hear why. If they hate us, go and find something else. But it's crazy that the most important asset in your company is people, and you're leaving so many things up in chance. You can do better.
Thanks for being part of the show, Markellos.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucas.